Hi everyone, Jessica here from Paper Ink Stamp and welcome back to another card making video. So today we're going to be looking again at the Simply Cards and Papercraft issue 209, and this was the Oh Christmas Tree. Within the inspiration in the magazine, there is a diorama scenic card and there's a how-to instructions with pictures as well. And this is the card that we're going to be creating in today's video. So this is a really easy way of creating these kind of 3D cards. It's just something a little bit different and it's perfect for using all of the elements that come free with this month's magazine. So you've got the papers we'll be able to use, of course, the stamps and the dies, and you've got that embossing folder. For our card today, we're going to be keeping it kind of simple. And we're just going to use some of the papers and the stamps. So I've already cut and scored my cardstock, but the instructions within the magazine are really easy to follow. So this is a 15 by 25 piece of cardstock, and then you just score it along at the edge at 1 centimetre, 2 centimetre, 3, 4 and 5 centimetres on each end. And then you just need to fold them. So you're going to concertina the edges, and so it says that both ends need to finish with the mounting fold. And this will then allow you to have space to sort of stick on your kind of front panel to it, if you like. So all I've done is I just go along and then just fold it and burnish. So it's really easy to sort of put together. It really doesn't take very long at all. So for that sort of square frame front piece, it recommends in the instructions to cut a 15 centimetre square of white cardstock. I did mine just a tiny bit bigger than that. I did end up making another one because the first one I did it at 15 centimetres and it was just a little bit too small. So just add probably no more than half a centimetre onto this size, but you know, just have a go and sort of see what works best for you. I don't have any nesting dies, like any big square nesting dies, so I just took my paper trimmer and I just then created a frame that was 1 centimetre in for the border. And that worked perfectly because the actual folds on your card, they are 1 centimetre as well. So you can see that I've taken a piece of backing paper, so there's quite a few different choices that you can choose from. This would also be perfect for creating some scenes, you know, with those papers that have got like the fireplace, just those background ones. This would be perfect for that. So I've just used some double-sided tape and I've just popped on my background, and then we can get into stamping the elements that's going to go within our card. So like I said, there's loads and loads of different scenes that you could build using the stamp set and those dies as well. And of course you could use that embossing folder, not just as an embossing folder, but you could cut it out if you wanted to. What I'm going to do for mine is keep it relatively simple. We're going to use the Christmas tree stamp, and then we're going to be using the railing stamp as well. So I don't want all of my Christmas trees to be the exact same colour, but I'm going to first stamp kind of my first layer with this rainforest green colour from the Prism Watercolour ink pad range. So within a card like this, what you've got, because you've concertinaed the edges, it means then that you have sort of about 3 or 4 sort of layers that you can add onto your card. So you've got the very front, you've got the very back, but then what we're going to do is create strips for our Christmas tree elements, and this means then that we'll be able to sort of attach them to the concertinaed sort of sides, and then that will allow us to create that depth and dimension within our card. So for this first piece, so this is going to go behind our railings. So our railings is going to be the very sort of front piece. This is then going to go behind it. So what I've done for this first piece is I've stamped 2 of these Christmas trees. I then took just a craft knife. I did a straight line in between, and then you can see like I'm doing here, I'm just going to fussy cut around these Christmas trees. And this is going to create our sort of first depth to our card, our first layer. So what I've done here is I've cut the actual cardstock to 15 centimetres, which is what we need it to be to fit perfectly within our card. And I've just, like I said, given it a really nice sort of thick border underneath the Christmas tree images, and that will just then obviously keep our Christmas tree sort of sturdy. So fussy cut around those, super easy to do. And now we've got our, like I said, our first layer. So I'm just going to bring back a card just so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So again, you've got all of these different sort of layers. That's what the concertina sides is for. This is going to be our first layer, so it's going to be tucked behind our sort of first flaps. Like I said, that's going to give us that real perfect dimension and layers to this card. But I really wanted to use this fence stamp as well, so I thought that would give a really beautiful sort of real front piece to our card. So I did stamp this. Well, after I stamped the first one, I should have done this in my stamping platform because it didn't stamp particularly well. What I ended up doing is going back over it with just a black fine liner, just to kind of give it that more sort of solid look. But all I did was I just lined up the posts on the right hand side. I overlapped those, and that just gave me then a continuous sort of fence image. It was really easy to line up, but like I said, I do wish that I'd used my stamping platform just so I could have gotten that really sort of great stamped image. So I fit 3 all the way across. So again, this is the same piece that's cut to that same 15 centimeters. All I'm going to do is just trim the bottom and then going to fussy cut around the top. So this, of course, because it's on white cardstock, you're not going to be able to see anything through this. If you did want to be able to see sort of your scene or Christmas tree sort of behind this railings, you would have to create a mask for the railings, which might be a little bit difficult because the gaps in between are so small, but you could stamp this onto something like maybe vellum or some heat resistant acetate and just heat set it. That way then you'd be able to see what was behind it. So if we just tuck this railings in the front of our Christmas trees that we've already got, you can see the kind of look that we're starting to build up. So again, now we want to have more Christmas trees to go into the background. So I'm going to take my evergreen colour, so I'm going to do a darker colour and I do a lighter one as well. And you can also see these 2 strips that I've cut, so they don't have to be perfect kind of strips at all, because you're just going to be adhering your images to it. So there's 2 ways that you can do this. This is what I wanted to show you. So you can either cut the strips and add the images just sort of at the bottom, or you could do it like we did the first layer, which was then to kind of fussy cut around it and have it all be one piece. It's up to you how you want to do it. The other thing that I've done just off camera, so you can see that I've fussy cut, I've coloured more, I think it was the olive green that I chose, and then I've just taken a couple of the stamps, the decorations for the Christmas trees, and I've just stamped those in black onto our trees, just to make it a little bit more festive. Again, you could go a lot further with sort of the designs of these. You could add some of the other Christmas tree decorations. You could again add some of the die cut images. It's obviously completely up to you what kind of scenes that you want to build. So all I've done is just popped some double-sided tape onto the sort of trunk of the Christmas tree, and that's just going to attach it onto these strips. So like I said, 2 different ways of doing this. You can do it how we did the first layer, or you can do it like this, whichever's easier for you. So I'm just going to arrange these, remembering sort of the layers and the scene and how it's going to look. I don't want any sort of gaps or anything in my scene. So you can see this piece here is going to be the very, very back of our scene. So when I arrange then the trees that are going to go in front of this, I don't want it to be kind of in the same area. You still want it to be quite natural looking, but you don't want loads of gaps. So you can see the ones at the further back, I've then put further to the right hand side. These ones are going on the left hand side. I did change them over because they were in the same I had the darker one on the left and the lighter one on the right, and I wanted to kind of mix that up a little bit. Also, you want to remember, if you're doing your scene cards, is also you want to see everything. So you need to kind of stagger your images. So the ones at the back are going to be further up the card. The ones at the front are going to be just a little bit lower. But again, it depends what kind of scene you're creating, what kind of look you're going for. That's just what I would sort of recommend, just so you can see everything. It gives your card that depth and dimension. To attach our pieces down, all we're going to do is just put some double-sided tape. Of course, if you want something stronger than this, you could use red liner tape, you could use glue, whatever you want. I'm just using double-sided tape here. And then I'm just going to put a small piece just on each end, because we don't want there to be any adhesive sort of in the body of the card, because we want everything to sort of stand up. We don't want anything to be stuck back, so it's just the sides that we want to have sort of attached to the actual card. Once you've got all of your elements together, obviously this is the fun bit, just kind of bringing the whole card together, building your scene up. This is just sort of, for me, this is the fun piece. So again, then just putting the double-sided tape just inside our concertinaed sides. That's what they're designed to do, and that's what's going to give your card that dimension. So you can see here this middle layer that was then standing sort of proud up from the very back piece. And now just add in the sort of final 3D element, which is our gate. Sorry, not a gate, our fence. And I just think that fence really kind of adds something really lovely to this card. The other thing you might notice is I've added some grey pieces just inside the card, so it almost looks like a little bit of a hill. Because there was so much green, I didn't want to do like green. I kind of went, I guess, for more of a path look, but it just kind of finished it off nicely where you didn't see then those white strips or where we'd attached the Christmas trees onto the strips. I just think it finished it off really nicely. So for the frame, you only want to add your double-sided tape to the left and right hand side. Obviously we're not taping down the top and the bottom. That is going to help with that sort of 3D element. We don't want that to be adhered. And all we're going to do is just attach this onto that first concertinaed piece. So the last thing we're going to do is add a sentiment to our card. So we're taking the sentiment, "We wish you a Merry Christmas." I'm just going to stamp this in, of course, my Memento Tuxedo Black ink pad. I do stamp this a couple of times just to get a really nice sort of crisp full image. And I just think this is a really beautiful sentiment. What I'm going to do then is just pop this onto that, I'm going to mount this onto the same paper we've used as our backing paper, just to coordinate everything together. And we're going to leave a really nice border sort of around this image. So I'm not going to be using any foam pads or anything like that, because we don't necessarily need any more dimension. And of course this isn't going to sit on the, again, in the actual scene itself. This is going to be on the frame, and we only want to put adhesive where it's going to sit on the frame. So for this particular card where we're going to be putting it in the top left, we only need to put adhesive on the top piece and then along that left hand side. The rest of it is just going to be kind of floating there, again, because we don't want to put adhesive there and have it kind of stick to the back of our card and then sort of ruin that three-dimensional look. And that's our card all finished. So again, you can make this as elaborate as you want or as simple as you want. Again, I've gone for something quite simple here, but I still think it looks really effective. And you can see all of those pieces. You can see all of that depth going right through to the back. I just think it's really beautiful. And I think this is a really great way of using those papers, those stamps, and of course then the dies if you want to add those in as well. So just to remind you again, this is the Simply Cards and Papercraft issue 209, and this is Oh Christmas Tree. So if you like this card, please give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, then please do so. You won't miss out on any future videos, and it does really help to support the growth of this channel. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching and happy crafting.